few minutes after these pictures were taken, 4 journalists who arrived to cover the attack were hacked to death by furious mobs. With an uneasy peace holding in Mogadishu, people are again coming out onto the streets. But the nervous US troops patrolling the streets and the helicopters circling overhead tell that this is a country still at war. In the last 4 months, there have been perhaps 1,500 casualties, including 67 from the UN. There might be a truce, but Mogadishu's guards are still doing good business. Even they are nervous going into Bakara markets, scene of the recent fighting between Somali and US forces. The fighting has left many Somalis angry and resentful.
Well, they came in here for a humanitarian right, but that way, it looks, if you see their actions and what they are doing, they are dividing the Somalis and they are wanting to start, it looks as they are wanting to start again the civil war.
What the UN never expected was the force that Somalis could level against them. The UN says on Sunday, 3rd of October, these vehicles were searching for General Aidid when they were ambushed. The Somalis say they attacked because of the unnecessary force the UN was using.
markii ay nimankan ay weerarka xaafadda iyagoo soo cararay oo dib u soo cararay oo naadi ka soo cararay ay xaafadda nagu yimaadeen isla markaana anagu bay xabad furid ugu bilaabeen dadkii rayidka ahaa oo meesha joogay iyo carruurtii ciyaaladii bay laayeen markii ay dadkii laayeen anaguna markaas baa difaac galnay markaan baa xabad furid ku bilownay xaafadihii iyo guryihii bay jibsheen iyo carruurtii yararka ahaa naagihii bay meesha ku laayeen isla markaa ay ku laayeen anaguna difaac waxaan u galnay inaan xabad isaga caabino.
Somalis wounded in the bloody Sunday battle were brought here to dig for hospital. Though both sides dispute exactly who was to blame, it's clear there were large numbers of civilian casualties. The hospital director says the numbers of wounded civilians have forced them to reconsider his support for UNISOM, the acronym for the United Nations forces here. 20-year-old Hakima was one of those injured. She's now paralyzed.
You can imagine that old lady, she's almost 50 years. You see, she's very young and she was expected to get a better future. And now, if you ask her, she will say, I'm against UNISOM. That's the kind of animosity which started after the war.
Though the Americans still tease the Somalis with loud rock music from the helicopters over Bakara market, they've now announced their departure from Somalia. It was the downing of this, Michael Durant's helicopter, his capture and the video pictures of dead US airmen dragged in the streets, which was enough to overturn America's resolve. Other countries have also announced their imminent departure. But in effect, it was the pictures from just one ordinary Somali which were responsible for the American about-face. Ahmed Hassan was the CNN amateur cameraman who took the pictures of the dead and captured Americans. He could go where foreign journalists couldn't. A fortnight ago, it wouldn't have been possible for foreigners to attend this pro-Aidid rally. They would have risked being lynched. The rally is little more than a publicity event arranged to persuade international opinion of Aidid's local popularity. There's a feeling of victory. The foreigners are leaving. And among the UN's leaders, there's also a sense of disquiet that increasingly video pictures are dictating international policy.
Well, I think this is something that people need to sit back and analyze and think about how in this television age, graphic pictures, whether they're of starving people or bodies being mistreated and mutilated, can cause strong emotions to rise, and where the analytical process enters in and how you reach sound policy.
This is where CNN found Ahmed Hassan. He runs a small photo studio in Mogadishu. Previously limited to wedding and family videos, he had little idea of the impact his pictures would have on international policy.
I'd
be very happy if my pictures helped to change the situation and push the Somali situation towards peace. I'd like that, but my original intention was only to take pictures of the events. But if I can contribute, I welcome it. Ahmed Hassan, better than anyone, has seen both sides of this terrible conflict. His pictures of an American attack on a house full of meeting Somali elders caused less of an outcry than his pictures of American bodies being dragged through the streets. That attack, more than anything, began to turn ordinary Somalis against UNISOM. Up to 70 unarmed Somali elders died. It was an attack which even President Clinton's legal department has questioned. UNISOM, though, insists it was a necessary part of the war they found themselves caught up in.
I think people will find that as regrettable as that particular episode was, it was essential under the situation. And people forget, they take these things out of context. They forget that on the 2nd of July was the very violent ambush of the Italians near the pasta factory. On the 7th of July, 6 of my Somali employees were murdered in cold blood. And so we have to see things in the context of the time and the violations that were occurring.
US helicopter gunships surrounded the house and rocketed it as the meeting took place. There was no returning gunfire. Under duress, the UN now accepts no militia in the house. And without these pictures, it's unlikely anyone could have questioned the UN's tactics. A few minutes after these pictures were taken, 4 journalists who arrived to cover the attack were hacked to death by furious mobs.
I think they make big mistakes because why? We are not only speaking about UN problems, and we are not speaking. Our people are not. That people who are here, they are not speaking about the UN problems and American problems.
They weren't planning an attack.
Yeah, they are just planning. People who are meeting here, they are planning in how to meet and how to discuss about the situation of Somalia, only Somali.
Pacification in a foreign land has never been easy. At this checkpoint, the troops hardly understand the wild nomadic tradition, where everything relates to one's family pride. With every knife taken, another Somali feels insulted, and in Somalia, that means his clan is insulted. It's a system which enables wildfire mood swings through the city, and coupled with Aidid's successful employment of the local media, he's easily turned ordinary Somalis in whichever direction he wants.
Aidid is, have got also an edge over Admiral Howe because he knows Somalis, He gives the messages to Somalis and he competes, Admiral Howe, with the international media. But Admiral Howe cannot compete with Aidid on the local media. That's why Aidid had an edge over Admiral Howe on the media manipulation.
Video pictures of the starving brought the world to Somalia. Now video pictures are driving them out. But in Mogadishu, the center of Somalia's problems, little has been done to bring stability in the long term. One of the few attempts made by UNISOM to restore order on the streets is the recreation of the Mogadishu Traffic Department. Though they try hard, they're not likely on their own to bring order to Mogadishu. And they only work where there's easy backup from the UN, in this case soldiers from the UAE. And just a few miles away, General Aidid's main adversary is ready to renew the civil war. He's the self-styled president, but only in Mogadishu North. Ali Mahdi has enjoyed seeing Aidid on the run, but now he's making thinly veiled threats about what will happen when the UN abandons the hunt. We are sure that if the US pulls out its troops, Somalia will go back to disaster, starvation and death. Outside the main UN compound, Somalis gather to watch the foreigners' military maneuvers. It's almost become a sport. They taunt the tanks by parking in front of them. But soon the whole show will be gone, leaving Somalis again free to solve their own problems. What will happen is uncertain, except that they will still have a lot to solve. And by then, the international community, CNN, and the rest of the media probably won't be there. Until that is, it's too late.
daawada haddii aad ka heshay muuqaalkan gaaban fadlan rukuma channelka si aad u hesho warbixinaha kale mahadsanid